Hi, I'm Nee West, and congratulations! You've wanted more and reached episode 4 of European Gold, a podcast series taking you along on my sweet trips around Europe in the search of top-level football and city culture to boost the brain power of a Devonshire donut like me. It was November 2015. What better time to escape the British winter and thaw out by heading back to Spain and the beautiful horizon that is Barcelona. We climbed aboard an EasyJet flight once more for the 2-hour early morning journey from Bristol into Josep Tarradellas Barcelona El Prat Airport, named as located between the municipalities of Viladecans, Sant Boi and El Prat de Llobregat, and not after the pair of Prats about to land on its runway. It's the second biggest airport in Spain and the first in Catalonia. We would find at this early point it would be easy to get about using the excellent and extensive metro system, and headed for Barceloneta Beach before checking in, called as such for its links to the fishing courser of the same name. We were hooked immediately by the warmth of the Mediterranean being enjoyed by sailing boats, surfers and paddleboarders alike, and required an obligatory ice cream along the route. The warmth would be reflected in the welcome we received on arriving at Hotel Canton, the friendly host telling us of his love of the UK. This family-run establishment would feel homely and our twin room cosy, the blue and white striped bedding bringing the calm of the sea in contrast to its close location to La Rambla, the lively 1.2 kilometre boulevard and beating heart of the city. Nearby we found Super Spari, a very reasonably priced mini-market that would keep us fed and watered. Its window displays were a little dated and dusty, but when you could get a bottle of vino for €1.50, this would put any bottle of Lambrini to shame, and myself and Donny now call any great passage of Exeter City play Lambrini football. Mock calling up proprietor Mr. Ikram and his marvellous moustache to blow the dust off a bottle as the goal's about to fizz. The bubbles indeed went to Donny's head one evening when he left behind his baguette and had to return to fetch it from unimpressed Mr. Ikram's crumb-covered counter. From heart and stomach to head, as we would head back out for a late light-packed lunch, passing El Cap de Barcelona, the head of Barcelona, a tribute to the city since the 90s Olympic era. This 15-metre high pop art sculpture was designed by North American artist Roy Lichtenstein and made by Diego Delgado just before the Games in 1992. Then heading towards Parc de la Ciutadella, we passed the Arc de Triomphe. Having a double take and thinking we'd left Paris behind, this red brick replica was built as a gateway to the new Barcelona in the late 19th century, celebrating all nations that took part in the Universal Exhibition in 1888, held in the park itself. The park would bring our first encounter of the work of the great architect Gaudi, the large fountain Cascada Monumental, from Water to Fire and the Castel del Tres Dragons, Castle of the Three Dragons, used as a library and archive for the Natural History Museum, which might explain the massive sculpture of a mammoth standing since 1906, named Julia in 1960 in memory of an elephant that died in the enclosed Barcelona Zoo. Not to blow our own trumpets from an old park to a new camp, as it was also in fact match day or match evening, 24th of November 2015. This would be our first Champions League night, and FC Barcelona against AS Roma. The sun had gone in and we were chilling. Beanie hats and jackets on, we found our seats, quite near the studio boxes of the TV transmission, and up in the heavens, a signal maybe that we were to be entertained by the football gods. With the tickets costing over €100, we were expecting some golden goals. Donny disappeared into a small back room. Thankfully not mugged, he returned with a couple pints that wet the whistle. Donny described it as going back in time, as if in some kind of time warp, into somebody's lounge. The Camp Nou, before Spotify got their hands on it, meaning New Field, opened in 1957. With a capacity of near 100,000, it held the Olympic final in 1992, and also memorably Manchester United's late show in the 1999 Champions League final. The recent tie-up with Spotify of over $300 million will see the new Camp Nou record the largest seating capacity in Europe when it opens. As the teams enter the field, Camp Nou became Camp Boo, as the Champions League anthem was mercilessly berated. This reflecting a long-term disagreement with UEFA, who object to Barca displaying the Estelada Catalan independence flag, seeing it as a political statement. Once the 71,433 had settled, this opposition were ready to kick off. The AS Roma manager was Frenchman Rudy Garcia. A former midfielder, he had only managed in France before taking the Roma helm in June 2013. Rudy was sacked in January 2016, maybe a sign of things to come. He is, however, presently manager of the Belgium national team, so it didn't affect his career prospects. Barcelona's manager, Luis Enrique. A big name as a player in the 90s, playing for both El Clasico rivals, over 150 games for Real Madrid and over 200 for Barca. He must have done something right. Playing over 60 times for his country and managing the national team over a 4-year spell after Barca, he has had and continues to have an amazing career, most recently being champions of Europe with PSG. The AS Roma team included Polish goalie Wojciech Szczesny, who had started a 2-year loan spell from Arsenal and whom is currently in the Barcelona squad at present, German defender Antonio Rudiger, who went on to join Chelsea from 2017 to 2022, Lucas Dean, who'd warmed the bench in Paris, Brazilian fullback Maicon, who had a short spell with Man City before joining Roma, up front Iago Falque, who made a handful of appearances for Tottenham and Southampton on loan before joining Roma via Genoa after leaving Spurs in 2014. Another former but more decorated Manchester City player, Edin Dzeko, the Bosnian target man hitting over 50 goals for City before moving to Roma in 2015. My FIFA player and substitute starlet, Juan Iturbe, the wicked Argentina winger, having a short loan at Bournemouth in 2016. The Barcelona team had just a few with English links. Belgian centre-back Thomas Vermaelen joining Barca in 2014 after a 5-year spell at Arsenal. Gerard Piqué, having come through both Barca and Manchester United youth system, playing over 400 games for Barca after joining them in 2008. Up front, Luis Suarez, the hungry Uruguayan striker joining Barcelona after a laden spell at Liverpool between 2011 to 2014, including a goal against our little old Exeter in the League Cup in 2011. Finally sub-goalie Claudio Bravo, leaving Barcelona the following season and joining the Manchester City evolution under former Barca legend Pep Guardiola in 2016. Would we be shouting bravo come the end of the game? Barca's intent to attack and entertain was clear from the start. Messi forcing a great save from Szczesny, then a short intricate passing move seeing Messi tap in, only to be denied by the offside flag. We were already in awe at the fine football on show, the only surprise that the breakthrough wasn't made until the 15th minute. Barca would break the deadlock and offside trap. A fine pass by Brazilian star Neymar to Dani Alves, who broke into the box and squared for Suarez to tap into an empty net. Then simply magic. A 27-pass move, ending with all of the masterful front three linking up. Suarez clipping the ball over the defence, Messi running on to dink the ball over Szczesny from the left side of the 6-yard box. Delightful. Then in the 44th minute, it was 3. Neymar, a threat all half, threw in an in-swinger from the left, partially headed clear by Seydou Keita, only for Suarez to hit a vicious volley, off balance with bite, into the bottom left corner from just inside the area. 3-0 at half-time. It seemed Roma had bitten off more than they could chew. Into the second half, the 56th minute, a fine fourth. The triumphant trio linking up once more, Neymar to Suarez to Messi, flicking the ball with the outside of his left boot across the 6-yard box for centre-back Piqué, tapping into again an empty net, an orchestrated move Shakira would be proud of. Showing they could also score some scruffy ones, the 5th in the 59th minute saw Messi running in on a rebound after Szczesny didn't hold a relatively tame Suarez shot, simply passing into the net. A scrappy 6th would come in the 77th minute. Some super skill and a not-so-special fall to the ground in the box by Neymar after a tap on the heel by Roma sub Saleh Ucan. No pot of gold for the Rainbow Man. Getting up and stepping up far too casually, no run-up and a poor right-footed penalty, a strong right hand from Szczesny. Unfortunately, fellow Brazilian sub Adriano was the first to follow up and smashed the ball left-footed into the top left corner. A penalty for Roma would follow, Dzeko winning and taking it, however he would also miss. Marc-Andre ter Stegen saving low to his left. In the 91st minute, Edin would head in and get a deserved consolation for the hard-working Bosnian. A cracking left-footed cross from the left, Dzeko doing what he does best, heading past a static ter Stegen into the bottom left corner. Final score, a stunning 6-1, which could have been so many more. Barca having 19 shots on goal. Watching from the heavens, this is genuinely, to this day, the greatest football I have ever seen. Truly the passing and movement, it was on another level. I wasn't a big fan of Luis Enrique as a player, but this beautiful game blew me away. Barca would make a maybe surprising exit from the competition at quarter-final stage, losing to Atletico Madrid 3-2 on aggregate. However, the top three in Spain were super strong at this time. The season would certainly not finish with them empty-handed. They retained the Liga by a single point, and just 3 separated the top 3, made up of both Madrid rivals. Having already won the European Super Cup by an incredible 5-4 scoreline over Sevilla, they would win the Club World Cup in December, beating Argentine's River Plate 3-0 in Japan, and would finish the season beating Sevilla again 2-1 in the Copa del Rey final. 4 trophies, not bad, eh? They say Rome wasn't built in a day, but it was demolished in 90 minutes. For Roma, an uninspiring season, exiting both the Champions League and Italian Cup at the last 16 stage. A small sweetener would be finishing 3rd in Serie A and qualifying once more for Europe's top competition next season. The following day we would delve into different types of artistry. We would visit the 17-hectare UNESCO World Heritage Site, Park Güell. It is split into 2 zones, Monumento and the scenic Forestal. In 1886, entrepreneur Eusebi Güell invited amazing architect Antoni Gaudí to build his new home. This then expanded for busy Gaudí to a winery, church, then in 1900, the park. The monumental area is fairy tale-esque, full of glorious gatehouses, showing off the best of Catalan modernism. For a mere fee of €550, you can gain access to Gaudí's house and now museum. Antoni lived in the house for nigh on 20 years, before his death in 1926. It was originally the show home for the Park Güell estate and designed by Gaudí's great friend Francesc d'Assís Berenguer i Mestres. It is refurbished to period and full of his fabulous furniture and other creations. As nature evolved, so did Gaudí's delicious designs. He could furnish my flat any day. In his older years, this religious man would be involved in the construction of the Sagrada Familia, a place we would visit later that day. Before then, we headed into the forest for some picturesque panoramic views and vast viewpoints, giving us sight of Mount Tibidabo, the highest hill in Barcelona, featuring an amusement park and the Temple Expiatory del Sagrat Cor, Temple of the Sacred Heart. Jesus, it looked quite the hike. Those after a bit of morning glory and some good vibrations is the erection Tor Glories. This bullet-shaped 38-storey skyscraper is 142 metres tall. Not sure what that is in inches. Buzzing for some basilica, we sidled down to the Sagrada Familia, known as the largest unfinished Catholic church in the world. Its uniqueness also earning the same UNESCO status in 2005, keeping Gaudí's 1883 dreams alive. Since COVID times in 2020, focus was put on completing the Tower of the Virgin Mary. Spending 5 months on the shaft, decorated in magnificent mosaic style, topped with 12 iron stars, Mary's sumptuous star the final piece of the jigsaw. A blessing and lighting saw Christmas come early in December 2021. The central tower of JC himself is due to be completed by the end of 2025. Everything crossed. So on to the piss artistry. Our evenings were often spent in Irish bar Flaherty's, having a big selection of beers, craft beers from local brewery Barcelona brewers, as well as more well-known nationally, Estrella Damm, also brewed in Barcelona since 1876, founded by August Kunstmann Damm, and in present day available for free at our pre-match pub in Exeter, should we predict a correct Premier League scoreline. Think Super 6 for the sloshed. I had an eye on their pint cocktails. Now I remember where I got the habit in leathered liver from. I opted for the Irish trash can. Green, of course, with an upturned crushed can of Red Bull dumped on the edge. Filled with gin, spiced rum, vodka, peach schnapps, blue curacao and triple sec. It wasn't full of rubbish, but had plenty of spirit. The 26th would turn out to be our sports day. In the morning we would return to the Camp Nou for some old memories and the museum and stadium tour. We were taken through the stands and down to pitch level with the statement Mesque un Club written proudly across the seats. More than a club. We would check out the changing rooms, physio room and spa bath. The players were certainly taken care of. We would sit on the bench, no substitute for being on the pitch, but the sign was of the keep off the grass variety. We would have our photos taken in the media room and post-match interview area, adorned with shirt sponsors Qatar Airways, along with fellow sponsors Vorsprung der Technik Audi. We pressed on with our progress. We were taken aback to see an interview taking place with Thomas Vermaelen, which we tiptoed swiftly behind, watching our steps. The museum was massive and full of multimedia to view the greatest moments, token memorabilia of old boots and knitted shirts, and shirts which span the decades, including that of Dutch legend Johan Cruyff, worn in a 5-0 El Clasico win, an 80s shirt from Argentine superstar Diego Maradona was not to be sniffed at, and brilliant Bulgarian striker Hristo Stoichkov's shirt, completing a tremendous treble. Talking of trebles, the current trophies of La Liga, Copa del Rey and European Cup shone proudly, supported ably by the golden gleam of Master Messi's bountiful Ballon d'Ors and golden boots, an overflow from Lionel's living room, no doubt. We exited through the gift shop, Donny picking up a pristine and polished polo shirt. Not satisfied with one stadium, we slipped over to another. Settled within the vast Olympic complex from the 1992 Games was the Estadio Olímpico Luis Companys. It was home of Espanyol's football team until 1997. We couldn't stretch to a second tour, but could see enough to take some snaps, including the iconic clock and archway seen in one of the bravest Olympic lightings ever seen. Paralympic archer Antonio Rebollo Lignan firing in a light arrow high into the sky to fire the flame of the Olympic cauldron. Other photo opportunities were the extremely tall Torre Calatrava Montjuic communications tower that was created specifically for the Games, and the huge Museo Nacional d'Art de Catalunya, with its fabulous waterfall and fountain outside. To top off the day, we headed back to Flaherty's in the evening for some more frolics and football as they were showing the evening's Europa League games, including that of Liverpool. Here we would meet a look-alike, still remembered and recalled to this day. Scouse Des, due to his likeness to former sports presenter Des Lynam. Whether travelling or just taking in our bread and butter Exeter City games, doubles or doppelgangers would never disappoint. That said, the quality and criteria could be described as loose at best. Regulars at home at St James Park have included and not limited to, dead or alive or fictional, actors Jason Statham and Sam Elliott, presenter James May, finger-licking Colonel Sanders, Zangief from Street Fighter, Harry Potter, Andy Millman. You're having a laugh? The complete boy band Blazing Squad, wrestler Stone Cold Steve Austin, and sportsman Nigel Mansell, Sean Murphy, and ex-Arsenal striker Alan Smith, who somehow became the manager of a stag do company, once turning up dressed in a beer bottle attire. These went along with nominated named regulars Midfield General, Young General, Patient Zero, AK, the Pieman Posse, and Twatman. Rest in peace. Talking of Liverpool, when we played them in an FA Cup replay in the coming January 2016, we were allocated seats in what could only be called an Anfield away asylum, with a poorly chosen team of aged veterans instead of our fresh young talent. We went out 3-0 with a whimper. Pablo Zabaleta and Paul Weller were not happy. Liverpool would win their Europa League game 2-1, the much berated Christian Benteke scoring the winner, sending a delighted but very drunk Des disappearing into the distance. We believe that Des is still covering the continent, as he wasn't even sure where he was staying. Just this year I swear I caught him sozzled in Malaga airport. We headed back to the hotel, having had a few, only to be woken to the sound of an obnoxious American guy being beaten. Let's just say it was all over for him, bar the shouting. Our final day would be a relaxed day of reflection, starting with a sweet visit to the Chocolate Museum, the Museo de Chocolate, full of sugary sculptures with the themes including cartoon characters Tintin and Disney's Up, Frozen and Bambi. As part of the entry, you also got a chocolate bar to chomp your way around. We would then wander to the end of La Rambla to the Mirador de Colón, Columbus Monument, another construction put together for the Universal Exposition in 1888. It honours explorer Christopher Columbus and his voyage to the Americas. It has a viewing platform where you can see Montjuic Hill and Castle, can gaze at the Gothic Quarter and its glorious architecture. Within the quarter, the Basilica of Santa Maria del Pi and its bell tower. A bit of a hidden gem, a bright contrast to the squares that surround it. From square to the avant-garde cubism of the Museo Picasso, a museum created in 1963 by close friend and secretary Jaume Sapatis. A relatively small but smart display of Pablo Picasso's work, and a journey celebrating his life and works from 1890 to the 1950s and beyond. His travels taking him similarly to our recent trips around Barcelona and to Madrid and Paris, featuring paintings, prints and ceramics It was a brilliant bio of this master of modern art. More illuminated faces lit up La Rambla. We'd watch the sun go down in Port Vell and wind down at this wonderful waterfront. Columbus looking on, these explorers would. Almost giving off a summery feeling. No, I haven't forgotten. That leads us nicely into this episode's city summary. Gaudi, Gothic, Mosaic, Marinas and the Med. The sea, sights, and soccer superb. We now had to face the return home. As always, many thanks for listening, whether it's helped you snooze or recover from a night on the booze. And if you've completed the first 4, I applaud you, but now please request the encore. Spread the word to create a crowd, and I'll continue to tell these stories aloud. More cities, more countries, more cock-ups, more European gold. Salut!